Hello and welcome to the Sanctuary, a safe space to speak from the heart. I'm your host, Israel, and my guest today is Mitch Cobb, the founder of Upstreet Crafts Brewing in PEI. Thanks so much for coming to the Sanctuary today.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Israel.
Yeah, I'll just start at it. At what point do you like, oh, you know what, let's just start a brewery?
Oh, geez. Yeah, so we've been in business now for about 6 years. And I guess the story of how we started the brewery is kind of a long one, but I guess it was around 2015. I was working at Holland College, teaching in the business program there, and I had a good buddy, Mike Hogan, who was home brewing, and me and some friends used to go and hang out at his place and help him homebrew, and we just got talking about how much fun it would be to start our own brewery. And we sort of seen that craft beer was taking off in other places and was starting to grow in Atlantic Canada. So it was one of those moments where we sort of said to ourselves, if we don't do this now, we're gonna regret it. And so we started diving in and never looked back.
Wow. So it's you and Mike that decided to start together, or was there someone else that joined?
Yeah, so it was Mike and I and our friend Joey. And then Joey was with us for the first year and a half, and then he ended up moving to Toronto.
Oh, okay. So let's pause there with Upstreet and go back to you teaching in Holland College. How did that happen, and what did you like or not like about teaching?
Well, it's interesting. So I never really intended, I guess, to get in business. When I started university, I did my undergrad in anthropology and international development, and then was trying to figure out what I was going to do from there, and decided to do my education degree. So I went to Australia and did my education degree, and then
Wait, why Australia?
it was it was an opportunity, a circumstance, I guess. I had just come back from Central America. I spent the year in Central America after I finished university, and it was the fall, and I had made the decision to do my education degree, but programs had already started, and the school year in Australia starts in January. So I was able to kind of, spend a year in Australia, which was a bonus, but then get into school earlier and finish. So coming out of doing my education degree, I moved more into community work and community education. So I worked with different nonprofits, teaching life skills for youth who had dropped out of high school, and doing kind of employment counseling and employment training for recent immigrants to Canada.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and so I did that. I never really went the traditional route into the school system, and then I kind of started to get interested in business. My wife and I and our daughter spent a year traveling through Southeast Asia, and I really got interested, I guess, in Bali. It was just a fascinating place, and everyone there had their own hustle. They were all doing their own thing, and everyone was, had their own businesses, and you'd get into a cab, and the first thing the cabbie would ask you is, are you here for business or are you here for pleasure? And so kind of just started to say, oh, I'm here for business. And he, started to learn about what everyone was doing, and there's a big export market in Bali. And so that kind of flipped the switch for me on business. So coming back from Southeast Asia, I opened up my own international student recruiting company, and did that for about 2 years.
What was the process of that? Did you have to travel to get the students, or was it all online?
So it was all online, and we had agents that we were working with in Korea and China. And we were starting to get some agents in India. But, it was interesting because I jumped into it thinking lots of people run businesses. How hard could it be? And quickly realized that I was in way over my head.
Oh no.
Yeah. And to start an international, recruiting business where you're dealing with governments and laws and regulations and universities, which are very bureaucratic, and it was a lot. So after 2 years, I was like, you know what, this isn't really working for me. So we decided to stop doing that, but I was still super interested in business, especially entrepreneurship. I really had the bug at that stage. So I went back to school to do my MBA. And so while I was doing my MBA...
Where did you do this one now?
I did it at UPEI.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a 2-year program, and kind of halfway through my MBA, I had a friend of mine who was in my class came to class one day, and she said, I think I'm going to China to teach with Holland College. They're looking for instructors. Holland College has a lot of programs that they run in China with universities over there. And I said, well, geez, that sounds like a lot of fun. I think I'd like to do that too. So she's like, yeah, they're looking for people. And so I had developed a relationship with the person who was in charge from my international student recruiting business. So I went and chatted with her, and literally like 3 weeks later, I was going to China.
No way.
Yeah.
Had you been to China before this time, or?
I had been there once on a recruiting trip, and I love China. It's such a fascinating place. So I went to China and taught with Holland College for probably 8 weeks. My wife and daughter came with me, and we spent a little bit of time after touring around, and that really kind of kickstarted my career into Holland College. So then that fall I started teaching a few more courses, and then moved into a full-time teaching role in the business program, and was there for probably about 2.5 or 3 years. But really, and I loved it. I love teaching, and it's definitely something that I'm going to go back to, but it sort of felt like it was a bit too soon for me. I still had some other things that I wanted to do, and one of them was to run my own business. So when we started talking about the brewery, it just seemed like a supernatural fit, and it kind of aligned with all of my values and the things that I was looking to do. So I left Holland College and jumped into the brewery. So yeah, interesting. It's kind of a long
No, but
winding
like,
path, but
yeah. But do you think that between teaching in China here and all those things you did, the experience you got there helped make Upstreet what it is now?
Oh, like 100%. I think that, gosh, I don't even know where to start with all of it. I think being able to teach and being able to facilitate discussions and having that kind of those communication skills has really helped me develop my leadership skills and my leadership style, certainly. And in terms of education is something that I highly value. So being able to bring that to Upstreet and provide training for employees and being able to, facilitate sessions. And, every year we have an Upstreet summit where, we all get together kind of off site and bring in different speakers and have different training and, and so absolutely all of that stuff. And then, the whole kind of community component at Upstreet was really, it was really important to me, and it was something, it was interesting because, like I said, I was never really interested in business, and I really thought my career was going to be more in the community sector. And, when I was going through my MBA and started learning about, these different companies like Ben & Jerry's and Patagonia and companies that really had a strong social purpose as well as, being a profitable company, it really kind of flipped a switch for me, and I sort of seen that these two worlds that in my mind had always sort of existed on opposite ends of the spectrum could really kind of come together, and you could run a successful business, and you could give back to the community, and you could provide a, you know, an incredible space for your employees, and you could bring people together, you know, and so that was really the pivotal point, I guess, in kind of building Upstreet, was to try and do this, and then B Corp, of course. And our B Corp certification was a huge part of that as well.
Did you get that right away, or?
We got it. So with the B Corp certification, the certification is based on what you've done, not what you intend to do, kind of thing.
Oh.
So you need 2 years of financials to become B Corp certified. So we didn't get certified until 2017, but because we always knew that we were going to be B Corp certified, it allowed us to sort of use the certification and the assessment to build the business in a way that it would be easy to be certified, but also build it in a way that, you know, supported the community and supported our employees. And
Yeah, that you know, that's something that just reading up on Upcrafts and what you guys do. One of the things that came up was a do good fund. Did that, like, what was the idea behind that, and why is it important to Upstreet and all of you to set up that fund?
yeah, I mean, that was something that we started right from the beginning. So initially, you know, one of our first beers was the Do-Gooder Pale Ale. And so we decided to take 10% of the sales of Do-Gooder and put it into the Do Good Fund, which would be a fund that we would use to support community and arts initiatives. So, you know, we host a block party every year and it's a free event that we invite all the community to, that has a lot of music and art installations. We set up the Do-Gooder Artist Residency in collaboration with This Town is Small, which is a local arts organization, to bring international artists to PEI to do artist residencies and interact with the community and interact with local artists. They had sort of identified a need to expose both the community and local artists to artists from outside the region. So, you know, we've done that for a couple of years. You know, and so for us, it's interesting. I mean, I remember having the conversation kind of early on where, you know, we sort of decided instead of spending a lot of money on marketing, let's take that money that we would have spent on marketing and invest it into the community. And then as a byproduct, that's going to create awareness for the company. And so that's kind of how we set things up. You know, we've expanded the Do Good Fund now because, you know, initially we had 3 beers, and now we have a whole range of beers, hard seltzers, non-alcoholic beers, sodas. So now it's, we take 1% of sales or 10% of profit and put into the Do Good Fund. So
That's dope. That is dope. I mean, that's actually mind blowing. Okay, so you do the Do Good Fund, but there's also the Upstreet Day, right? Is that a specific day or just based on the season? What was the idea behind that?
So there's kind of 2 big events that happen at Upstreet. One is the Upstreet Summit, which I talked about, which is more kind of strategic professional development learning. Upstreet Day is the day that we opened, which is June 29th. So it's our birthday. But, you know, we always celebrate our birthday by, which is kind of counterintuitive, I guess, closing down all of our facilities and taking our staff out for a day of fun to celebrate Upstreet.
And like, is it always just the staff? Do you invite the community into?
So Upstreet Day is for the staff. Yeah. Yeah. So it's a way, I mean, it's, you know, it's right at the beginning of summer, you know, and so it's a good way to sort of kick off the summer for our staff, you know, shut things down and have a bit of fun before we kick in the high gear in July and August. So
So, you said you started with 3 beers, but now you have a lot. What is the process in coming up with one, making each beer or drink, soda, seltzers, and coming up with the names? Because the names are amazing.
I mean, it's really a collaborative process for sure. I mean, we spend a lot of time researching, different beer styles or different products that are, you know, gaining traction in other places, and look at what other breweries are doing, or beverage companies. I mean, the process is for a beer or a new product is probably, beers are a bit shorter. New products, probably the lead time is about a year. But once we kind of decide what the style of beer or product is, then we'll start doing pilot batches. We'll bring people in and do focus groups and get feedback. A lot of times we have to go back to the drawing board because what we thought it was going to be wasn't really what transpired, and try different things. Then we sort of scale it up to like a full size batch, and before we go into full production, and then it's kind of coming up with the brand of the beer or the product. So I mean, we spend a lot of time just tossing ideas around for names of beers or names of products, and we have I guess I say a bank of ideas, but really they're just like, I've got a pile of papers with names scratched on them that I keep tucked away, that I go back to from time to time, and
Yeah,
see if there's anything that we missed.
yeah.
And then we've got a great designer for our beer in Newfoundland, Judd Haynes. He's been with us from the start, and he's a fantastic artist and graphic designer who does a lot of work in the music industry. And so we were really lucky to get him to do our beers. And I mean, it was interesting because starting, we were all big fans of music and spent a lot of time going to concerts and live music shows. So, the inspiration behind our labels was to try and make our labels look like concert posters.
Oh,
So
there you go. Yeah, cause like they're
yeah.
outstanding. Like each one has his own personality, and like, do you? And I kept thinking, like, could you tell from the design on the bottle how the drink will feel? Kind of like, is that what you guys are going for?
Yeah, so I mean, we give Judd a lot of creative freedom. We kind of say, this is the style of beer, and this is the name, and this is why we chose it, and then kind of let him go to town coming up with the design. So it's
Oh.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, like the non-alcoholic bearded Libra, it has this like, oh, it's summer and you're just taking a nice hike and you just want to chill. And then there's the 80s, I think that's what it's called. Um, I like the design on that one too. And then there's the commons, and then there's white noise, and like I'm
yeah,
like, it's like this happy go lucky vibe that I get from Upstreet Crafts.
yeah, yeah. That's exactly what we were trying to do. I mean, craft beer is really uh, something to be enjoyed and shared with friends, and with the community, and so we really wanted the labels to sort of reflect that positivity.
So let's go back a bit. The three of you started this thing. I have no idea how to brew, but you set it up. Like, did you hire people right away? And how do you decide when to bring in a new person to the Upstreet Craft family?
Oh gosh. So we, yeah. So where do I even start with this? So Joey and Mike and I kind of left our jobs, I guess, at Christmas time in 2014, and it took 6 months to build the brewery. So we were all on site building. Doing what we could. I mean, none of us were builders, but and none of us had ever built a brewery. So it was all new territory, and everyone was trying to figure it out together. You know, and then we opened up in June. So, I mean, in the early days, we had hired, I think maybe 5 people to work in the tap room. So we were about 8 in total. But I mean, we did everything. You know, we brewed beer all day. Mike would brew the beer. We'd help clean the tanks. We'd keg the beer. You know, and then we'd work in the tap room at night. You know, we were putting in some pretty epic days in the early days until we kind of started to get a foothold and seeing that things were going to work. And, you know, we were really lucky. We never really expected the tap room would be as busy as it was. It was sort of an afterthought, and you know, we really wanted to be a production brewery, and then we thought, well, we'll build a tap room and it'll be a cool place for our friends to hang out. And you know, we opened up the doors and people just started coming in, and so it was awesome to see, and that really helped us in the early days in terms of, you know, cash flow and things like that. So it allowed us to sort of, you know, start bringing some new people on and you know, start growing. And then we moved into bottling in that fall, the fall of 2015, and then we started bringing more people into the into the brewery side of things. But it's, you know, it's always a tricky balance in trying to figure out, you know, when to bring new people on, because you're always kind of trying to predict the future, you know, and so you do your best job of kind of doing a forecast and figuring out what your sales are going to be and what positions you're going to need, and then hopefully you hit it and you hire people based on that. But you know, we've definitely over the years been in the position where we thought we were going to grow and we didn't, or we thought we were going to grow this much and we grew way more, and it's, you know, it's always a bit of a dance for sure.
And like, also, how do you give the titles of the positions? Because I love them. I like, you know, when you put up the positions opening on your, either on your Instagram or on the website, how do you come up with those names?
You know, I think, I mean, one of the things about Upstreet is that no one has sort of a single lane job, you know, and you know, and that became especially true during COVID, where, you know, the servers aren't just servers. The servers are packing boxes for delivery, and, you know, we're pulling the sales guys in to work on the canning line. And that was really, you know, in the early years, everyone had 2 or 3 different jobs. We're trying, as we grow, to make it a bit more formalized, but, you know, it's also part of the magic that makes Upstreet work, you know, in that you're always trying to hire people who are flexible and can kind of roll with the punches and jump in wherever they're needed. So, you know, we've really tried to create job titles that capture that. So, you know, it's not servers, we have brand ambassadors, and that's really important because, you know, especially in the tap room, not only are they serving the customers coming in, but they are the front line who are selling the story of Upstreet. So they truly are the brand ambassadors of Upstreet.
When did you get into making kombucha?
Kombucha? Nope, don't make kombucha.
Oh, okay.
No,
Yeah.
we sell kombucha. We have there's a great local company called Heartbeat Organics, and yeah, so we sell their kombucha. On tap.
I get it.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
just
yeah.
I was like, wait, how does that? Yeah. And then the one that also stands out for me, I really love White Noise, but the one I also love is Libra, right? You know, and it's premium. Like, what makes it premium? And then why did you decide to go with non-alcoholic?
Yeah, so Libra's a good one. Libra's one that we're super proud of. So, you know, I mean, for years and years, really since the advent of non-alcoholic beer, there's always been those standard, like Budweiser, Prohibition, and you know, that those sort of flavorless, sweet, non-alcoholic beers that didn't taste like beer. You know, and over the last, you know, number of years, the non-alcoholic beer space has really grown in Europe. And so we sort of recognized that the trend was coming, and started to see a little bit of innovation in the space. So it kind of coincided with the same time, we were 3 or 4 years into the brewery, and with being brewery owners, there was always opportunities to have a beer and to go out and eat dinner and drink. And it was sort of starting to one, kind of get a little bit old, but also weighing on our health, especially for me. I had developed a bit of a beer belly and wasn't really feeling on top of my game, and so really decided to start cutting back on drinking. And so this whole idea of non-alcoholic craft beer was really fascinating to me. And so sort of seeing the trends and sort of seeing life changes in my lifestyle, but also changes in the lifestyle of the people around me. We thought that we could probably create our own non-alcoholic craft beer. And so we worked for like 2 years, doing pilot batches and trying to figure it out, because it is, it's a similar process, but it's a whole new space. So there, it really was a lot of trial and error. And traditionally, traditionally non-alcoholic beer was made in a way where they would make the beer and then they would boil off the alcohol. But in boiling off the alcohol by heating it up really high, they would lose a lot of the flavor from the beer. So we really had to work to kind of develop our own process so that we could create a true craft beer. And so the process that we use is very much the same as we brew our own craft beers. The steps are all the same, but we just make small tweaks to them so that the beer only ends up fermenting out to 0.4%. And then it has the same great taste as a craft beer, but it has almost no alcohol, and only has 30 calories. So it's wow. Really, it's healthy.
Yeah.
Like I can make that claim. It's a healthy drink.
Dope. You mentioned the B Corp thing ahead, and like you had that as as a goal, and then you set up everything you were doing to get that to be certified as a B Corp. But the other thing I learned when I was just read up on Upstreet, is that Upstreet is the first business on the island on PEI to be that certified. Like, I was blown away. How important is just that, getting that B Corp, and also keeping Upstreet going, following like the guidelines and things that's needed to maintain that certification?
Yeah, I mean, it's initially, becoming B Corp certified was definitely a personal goal of mine. I guess because, we sort of start seeing the market change, and with the advent of social media, and, there's a real push by millennial consumers and now Gen Z consumers for brands and businesses to be authentic, and to, share the values, and those consumers are really looking for companies that share the same values as they do. And there was sort of a period there where, companies were greenwashing or finding workarounds to say that they were doing, good things for the environment, but really they weren't, or saying they were doing really good things for, corporate social responsibility or for the community, but, they were just sort of elaborate marketing campaigns. And so B Corp sort of holds our feet to the fire, so to speak, and having that certification really lets people know that, we're doing the things that we say we're doing, and we're doing the right things to improve the community, improve the environment, and to provide a great workplace for our employees. And so for us, it's really become I guess the field that we play on. It provides, the lines, I guess, so to speak, of the field and the goalposts, and kind of, because it's difficult, right? When you're making decisions all the time, there's always choices that you can make, and there's always a cheap choice, and there's always a more expensive choice, and then there's probably like the right choice somewhere in the middle. And so if you're always thinking in terms of profit or shareholder value, then you're always going to be driven to make the cheapest choice and the more short-term choice. Whereas now with B Corp, when we have to consider, we always still consider price. Obviously, we're still a business, but we also consider the impact on our employees, the impact on our community, the impact on our supply chain, the impact on the environment. And so it makes us look through all of those decisions through that lens. So, we're not really ever making the cheapest or the kind of short-term choice. We're really kind of focused on the long term. And so for us, it really is like the lens through which we put all of our decision making, and it really holds us accountable to that, to those values that we have.
Yeah. We've been talking about B Corp, and then we might have some people in the audience that don't know what B Corp certification is. You want to give just like a brief explanation what it is and how you get certified?
Yeah. So B Corp is a certification process. It was started in the States, but now it's really a global movement. And so it's a certification process similar to, fair trade is to coffee, or organic would be to vegetables. But it's a certification for businesses that looks at your, basically assesses your governance, your community impact, your employee impact, and your environmental impact. And it's a fairly extensive assessment that you have to go through, and so it looks at it's way more than just a lot of people think that B Corp is about giving money back to the community, and it's really much broader than that. So when you go through the assessment, they want to know who all of your suppliers are, and how many of your suppliers come are local or are within like a certain radius, and they want to know how many of your suppliers are women-owned companies or minority-owned companies. They want to know, about your employees and who you're hiring and the benefits that you provide them. They also want to know what you're giving back to the community, but they want to know, what you're doing to reduce your environmental impact. So it's not necessarily, are you carbon neutral, but are you making changes in the way that you do business to reduce your environmental impact? Are you tracking what your environmental impact is sort of the baseline. So it's super comprehensive, and there's a lot of really well-known companies that are starting to become B Corp certified. I mentioned some of them earlier: Patagonia, which is an apparel company, Ben & Jerry's. I just seen that Evian has just become B Corp certified in Canada. The Business Development Bank of Canada is B Corp certified. Bose Brewing in Ottawa is B Corp certified. So it's really becoming a movement. And so to become certified, you go through the assessment, and then you have to renew the assessment every 3 years. So we're just going through the renewal process now for our assessment.
Nice. So between the B Corp, do gooder, but Upstreet has gotten a lot of recognition. Some of your beers have won gold, silver medal. You've also been recognized by PEI, Chamber of Commerce, and all these things. How important are winning these awards to Upstreet and to you personally?
We don't do things to win awards, but it's always great to get the recognition. And it's always, I think for us, it's always a pause to stop and celebrate. You know, I think a lot of times everyone, and I think this is true for any business owner, a lot of times you just put your head down and you go, and you're always looking at the next hurdle. And you know, you're always looking at the problems that you're facing, and you know, we don't take time enough to stop and celebrate the wins. So, you know, for us, that's awards are really nice, but really, you know, they're opportunities to stop and take pause and to celebrate all the good things we've accomplished.
And then it took you a while to start canning your drinks. Why?
Sorry, what's that?
Like putting your drinks in cans.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why did it take so long from when you start till like it took a couple of years to start putting your drinks in cans?
Yeah, you know what? I was talking to someone about this the other day, about just how quickly kind of the craft beer industry changes and how quickly trends sort of change. So, you know, just 6 years ago when we started, we started using a 500 ml bottle. I mean, at that time, cans were sort of blasphemy in the craft beer industry. You know, it was seen as like, you know, if you're drinking kind of a macro tasteless beer, then you drink it out of a can. And if you're drinking craft beer, you know, really you're drinking it in like a 650 ml bomber bottle that, you know, you're sharing it with friends, because, you know, a lot of the beers were, you know, high percentage alcohol, and, you know, you wouldn't want to drink a whole one. You know, and then it sort of shifted from bombers to, you know, 500 ml bottles kind of became the norm, and then 355 ml bottles, and then cans just, you know, took off. You know, I think they're somewhat less expensive, but also I think, you know, the technology wasn't there, so it was easy to get bottling machines, but there weren't a lot of small run canning machines, and so once that technology became available at a point that was accessible to smaller craft breweries, then it really took off. And really, you know, it's interesting because there was a lot of debate at the time as to whether cans or bottles have, you know, a greater environmental impact. And I think now we know that, you know, cans probably are a better environmental choice. That being said, there's still some issues, especially with the shrink sleeves and labels going on them. But yeah, so I mean, we had already invested in a bottler, and then 2 years later, you know, we had to make the change to switch to cans. So it was just a matter of timing and you know, being able to afford to invest in the canning.
Okay, and one thing that also happened was, gradually you opened a new location and then a third one. At what point did you know, okay, you know, we had to do that? And then what was the decision between adding barbecue to the third location and taking it off the island also?
Yeah, so I mean, it was really it was more of an opportunity than a decision. So you know, we opened the tap room here. It was doing really well. And then we opened the Craft Beer Corner, which is in downtown Charlottetown. And it's kind of like an Upstreet beer bar and cocktail bar. And, you know, that was doing relatively well. And then we were approached by Chef Bill Pratt through a mutual friend, Chef Michael Smith. And Bill was looking at this restaurant space that had a brewery in it. That was a former brewery, and so he was looking at kind of starting a barbecue restaurant in that space, and was looking for a partner on the project to brew the beer. Yeah, so we had a few chats and decided, you know, for us it was an opportunity. We had been kind of making some inroads into Nova Scotia, so it was kind of a way for us to, you know, have a greater visibility in Nova Scotia and to get more distribution of our beer there. But also was a great opportunity. You know, Bill is a fantastic chef. He's got great restaurants and he really knows business well. So yeah, it was something that just sort of fell in our lap. and we jumped on it.
Yeah, no. That's great. So, another thing that I love, and this is me just because I love bright colors. And then you guys have this Neon Friday thing, and the artwork is insane, beautiful, popping right in your face. What was the idea? Like, how did the idea come about, and why? How was the execution process for Neon Fridays?
Yeah, so I mean, the idea behind Neon Friday was to basically develop a series of hoppy beers that would rotate and change. Kind of, I mean, it started. We were doing them every 2 weeks, which was maybe a bit aggressive. And then it switched to like every month, and now we've kind of settled on we put a new one out every couple of months. But it was an opportunity for brewers to play around and explore with different hop varieties and different hopping techniques for IPAs and double IPAs and pale ales. So the name kind of came from. We would initially, from a marketing standpoint, we would release them every Friday, and then kind of throw like a dance party in the tap room before COVID.
Yeah, I saw the
when
videos
dance
on
parties were
YouTube.
allowed.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a good point to actually touch on that, right? Because I saw the video of like the Neon Friday party on YouTube. I love it. It's like it's great because you want to be in that vibe, and like I said, like. Upstreet has this happy-go-lucky, welcoming vibe, so it just made sense why you'd have like a dance party right in the tap room. But then COVID hit. How did that affect Upstreet, and what things did you do to adapt to it?
Yeah, COVID. I mean, really, it's been a slog for sure, but I think coming out of COVID, we're in a much stronger position. We had sort of made the decision after, opening the barbecue brew house and opening Craft Beer Corner and having, 3 restaurant bars in Atlantic, Canada. We kind of made the decision at the end of 2019 that we really wanted to start focusing more on developing products. We had explored a couple of different business models. One which was to like build, physical spaces, which worked out relatively well. But we also kind of recognized that like we aren't really, restaurants and bars aren't really our lane. That's not where we play. We're a production brewery first and foremost, and so. We seen, obviously there's a lot of craft brewers coming on board. And so we made the decision that we wanted to sort of expand out of craft beer into other product lines, or out of kind of traditional craft beer lines to continue to sort of grow. And so COVID hit, and it was perfect because we really had to pivot quickly. And we were talking about doing these things, and we were talking about doing vodka seltzers, and we were talking about non-alcoholic beer and low-calorie beer and all these different things. And then COVID hit, and like restaurants and bars basically shut down overnight. And we were like, well, we have to do this now. Like, this is kind of the perfect time. So we really dug in and launched Rewind vodka seltzer just at the end of June, and it was great. It was really well received by everyone. It's a 100-calorie low carb vodka soda drink, and it was sort of perfectly timed for the summer, and it became really popular. And then we released the non-alcoholic beer in the Libra in the fall. And so that's really allowed us to sort of move outside of the craft beer space a bit and create a lot of white space for us. So, with Libra, now it's only been on the market since October, but we now are selling it across Atlantic Canada. We're selling it in Ontario. We have a distributor in BC. We sent our first pallet to the US, which is super exciting. There's a lot of momentum there, and there's a lot of, a lot of white space. There's not a lot of players in the market, and there's growing demand, and so COVID for us, meanwhile, it's been definitely a struggle for the barbecue brew house. It's been a struggle for the tap room, and the craft beer corner, although they've kind of come back, especially because we were allowed to start selling online, and we were allowed to continue to do retail through COVID, so selling beer to go. But it's really forced everyone to explore and innovate and really push our boundaries, which has been, I think it's been a really positive thing. I think when we look back on these times, I think it's still a little too close to to be reflective, but I think 5 or 10 years down the road, as a collective society, when we look back, we're going to be amazed at the innovation that we seen during this period.
Yeah, no, I love that, and finding out it kind of like almost like the barbecue house dropping in your lap. You already had this plan happening, and then COVID happened. But something I've not touched, and I'm gonna let you go soon because I know you're super busy. Is your social media, like your Instagram is beautiful because you have all these beautiful labels, but also you have a ton of followership and is super engaged. How did you guys achieve that? Like, do you have someone in the team that just focuses on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, that would be all Marcia Gallant, who's our marketing manager here, and she does all of our marketing, all of our social media, and she's a star. Really, social media is something I'd love to be good at it, but I'm not very good at it. But yeah, she's incredible. So yeah, that's all her. And I think it's just a matter.
Okay, I'm gonna let you go with this one. On talking of your Instagram, there's a giveaway happening there. I mean, I know it's only for people on the island in PEI, but what was the drive for this giveaway?
Yeah, really the drive for the giveaway was to try and create some awareness and engage people, and we put together a prize pack, and it's also was part of kind of trying to support other local companies. So we've done a number of giveaways over the last year where and actually, it's not super original. You see it happening quite a bit now, which I think is awesome. This kind of collaboration between different companies, and for us, it's an opportunity to both support and promote other smaller companies. But
yeah. Mitch, thank you so much for your time. I know you have so much on the go, so thank you so much for giving me this much time and for telling me for answering all my questions about you and Upstreet, and also the making your values part of your business. So like when we see Upstreet, we see you, and then what is important to you is important to Upstreet. It is always good to see that. And now getting your B Corp certification, which I'm pretty sure you're going to get it renewed, also goes in that lane. This is who I am, this is what I believe in, and you're standing behind that. It's really inspiring, it's really encouraging. So thank you for doing that, Mitch.
Oh no, thank you so much for having me on. It was a ton of fun.